Welcome to Office Hours. I'm Steve Drost. With me, as always, Will Kaplan. Of course, me and Will both from the Quivr team. Now, what is Quivr? We are the CRM built by financial advisors for financial advisors. And our objective at Quivr is very simple. How can we help you run your business at peak efficiency? Now, each week, each episode of Office Hours, we take a couple of cool items that came directly from our Quivr users and we discuss them to see how are they trying to make their lives just a little bit easier. Will, you had a good one this week.
Yeah, this came from office hours. This was a question around we're trying to work through meeting prep and we've got a client that we asked for some documents. And I definitely had these clients, Steve. I guess my guess is that you probably have these clients. I think we all have these clients where sometimes you ask for a tax return or a 401k statement or something, and you're just not going to get it on your timetable. Like it's not coming before the meeting, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that was this case is, they had requested some specific documents in meeting prep. The CSA had sent that request out, didn't get anything back. And the question becomes like, what do I do? Like, do I mark that as complete so that it pushes forward and the advisor knows to get ready? Do I leave it open so the advisor knows that it's still pending? Like, how do we handle that? And I think it's a great question.
It is. And when we look at meeting prep, there are maybe two categories of prep items. One is the things that have to be done in order to meet with that client. And the other ones are the you really want them, but we can't always get it, right?
I'm still going to meet with you even if you
Yeah.
don't send me that tax
Yeah, if a
return,
client
right?
doesn't send me their tax return, exactly, we're still going to meet. Now, we might not be able to have as great of a conversation on tax planning, but we're still going to meet to address, cash flow and whatever else we're talking about. So in that situation, we can move forward with the meeting, unless that's the only purpose of the meeting, of course. If your situation, if that's the other category, that's fine. But in this situation, they admitted they want to meet and they want to continue to go forward. Now, the other category, though, of prep are the things that have to happen. Like you can't have a meeting until it's scheduled. You just can't do it, right? So that category, ignore everything we're about to say. But this other one, let's just think about process, right? Now, inside of the meeting module, we have you list the prep and the follow up for everybody by role because we don't want those tasks to bog down the client. I think in my system, I have 11 prep items and like 12 follow up items. So let's just say 20-ish tasks with every meeting. If I'm meeting with my clients twice a year, that's 40 items pertaining to meeting prep and meeting follow up. I just don't want those tasks in my system. I don't kind of get bogged down. Now, does that mean that every prep and follow up are going to go perfect? Not a chance. So, Will, what is the important part when we look at the meeting prep pick lists to keep that meeting moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we want to be able to use the homepage or use reports or use things to sort of gather up that data and tell the next person in the chain, I'm done with this. You need to pick it up. We're getting close to this meeting. We need to get complete. We want to be able to do that. We want to keep these things moving down the line. And so that to me is one of like the core, we have to keep these things moving. And so now we need to come up with other solutions for how to memorialize. Was this kind of one of those nice to have, or is it a must have? And I think the must have sort of answer themselves. So again, like, let's not talk about those today. These are it would be nice to have these documents, or it would be nice for you to have filled out this questionnaire or whatever it might be, but we can still have the meeting. And so, I think you and I have talked a little bit about this offline, but to me, the solution has to involve noting somewhere else that didn't go exactly as we expected it to, that there's still something outstanding about it, but we want to keep it pushing, we want to keep it working its way through the factory. It's got to get onto the floor at some point. How do we do that? How do we actually have the meeting even though we're not maybe 100% ready? And so my solution when I was talking to this individual, this other firm, was you're either going to have to put something in the agenda so that when the advisor, sees that and they look at it and they're like, oh, right, we don't have these documents yet. I'll mention that in the meeting that, hey, we really need you to send this in so we can get to the next step, or put it in that notes since last meeting. That's such a great catch-all for things that are meeting related. I am sort of curious, Steve, because I know that you've run into this as well, like how you solved it. Because, for me, it was like, you just got to stick it someplace else. I like keeping it with the meeting, but I can also see if it is something that is a little bit more important, actually creating a real task for this types of things. So I'm kind of curious how you would do it too.
Yeah. My mom gives me a hard time because she says I overtask and things like this. I know that if I have a task in the system about, for example, that tax return, I mean, if it's on the agenda and if it's something I'm asking for before the meeting, which I collect them in mass anyways, like something's going on here. It's probably pretty important. And if that's the case, then I want it pulled out and I want to see it every day until it's done. So in this situation, I'd probably do a combination. I'd pull that. I would tell my mom, like she'd come to me and say, John hasn't given us this document yet. What do you want me to do? And I would tell her, close it out and give me a task. She would then put a task in the system assigned to me. Due date would be today, and it'd be her documenting what didn't happen, what we needed, and why. So now I would open that task and I know exactly what's going on. And now I can decide, how do I want to handle this? I agree with you, Will. 9 out of 10 times, this is going to be an agenda item. So I will add that to the agenda in the meeting module. I will also, because I've sat in the CSA role, I've sat in the paraplanner role, sometimes clients I find maybe don't respect or respond to the CSAs and the paraplanners as much as they do the lead advisor and the firm owners. And that's one of my pet peeves. So I will put that in the notes since last meeting, and I'll straight up ask these clients. I'm very informal with my clients. Like, dude, Veronica asked you for this. Why didn't you give it to her? Like, if she asks me for something, I give it to her. Hey, what's going on here? And I'll kind of call the client out, and usually I get a chuckle. I keep it lighthearted, and then they now know, crap. Like when Veronica asks for something, I have to get it to them. So that's kind of my way of handling it. So you described two ways where you'd put it. I added a third and then did all three because I'm paranoid. But I know that as long as it's in the task, it's going to be there. If it hits the meeting agenda, I'm going to talk about it. And if it's in the notes since last meetings, I'm going to have an emotional reaction to when I was a CSA, when I was a paraplanner, and clients didn't get me stuff. So like that's the weird psychological game I play with myself. But the theme of all of this is so simple. If it's important and we don't want it to fall through the cracks, how do we put it somewhere where we know it's not going to? And those are your three obvious options.
Yeah, and Steve, the other one that I used to do when I was practicing was if I asked for something 3 times by email and I didn't get it by the 3rd time, and I usually did like the initial ask, wait a week, ask again, wait 2 weeks, ask again, wait another 2 weeks. And if I still didn't have it, then it was time for me to take action. Like that was I needed to, use a different channel, find out what was going on with the client. I would usually call and just say, "Hey, Steve, I know I've been asking this. I know you're probably sick of hearing from me. Is there something going on?"
And usually there is. Sorry, we've been out of the country or we were doing this. And I'll call, maybe shoot him a text. But at that point, I've actually already closed my task and added it to the next meeting agenda and entered in the notes since last meeting. Because it's been now a month since we met, which means we're 4 to 5 months from the next meeting. But again, it's tough because operations individuals, ourselves included, we are very process driven people. We don't necessarily like to deviate all that much. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge that we're working with people, and people are never going to go perfectly according to our plan. In fact, they never will. Never. You're never going to have a client that does everything you say that you need them to do for 25 years. It's not going to happen. So you need to understand the media module well enough, which this firm absolutely did to ask this question, to feel confident knowing that the 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 times that you need to deviate a little bit, you know how, and you feel empowered to do so. So you can still accomplish your end objective, which is having a great meeting with that client without something falling through.
Right. It's closing that loop. It's recognizing like, oh, there's a little piece here that I'm not going to get. Where do I stick it so that it doesn't just evaporate? Because we're human too, so we forget these things.
I love it. That's a wrap. One of the rare examples where we tell you to deviate from our process, right? Well, uh,
Exactly.
now, if you are a Quivr user, remember, join us on Wednesdays for office hours where we talk about things just like this, right? Not only where we're talking about specific Quivr features, but what to do when maybe your current instance of a workflow isn't going perfectly according to plan. Like, let's talk about that and figure out how we can make that work for you. If you're not a Quivr user, that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes and nobody is perfect. But that's all right. It's not too late. Schedule a demo. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with Will and see what Quivr can do for you.